United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible.
Recording in progress.
Introduction of the board.
Colin Siverly,
Marie Tooney,
Marjan Salvador,
Jeff Michael. Randy Carmody.
Aaron Bear.
Krishna Erie.
Agenda revisions, there's a extra piece of paper with your packet for meal fee changes. That's getting added as action item C. So that's the agenda revision. Approval of the board meeting minutes for June 10th.
I so move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carries. No student representative report for some reason this month. Superintendent's report, Aaron.
Yeah, just a couple of things. First, again, I know they've left, but I really do want to thank Debbie and Kathy and all the retirees. And I do think that all of these jobs have myriad levels of complexity to them, and sometimes working behind the scenes in the business office is that location where you never really see what it is they do. You just only ever feel the effects. And if the effects don't feel good, then you get upset, right? But if they feel good, you just never say anything about it. So it does become pretty thankless on that level. And so to have 45 almost plus years of service between the two of them to do those types of jobs is just absolutely amazing. But I do think it's a testament to the conditions that we're able to create, that our board create. Testament to how that department is run and the amount of trust that Tim puts in his folks in that department to get that work done. So if you've never done accounts payable, don't start. Because it's just not fun. And then on the other side, what Debbie or what Kathy was doing is, I think the intensity is definitely different, and that's everything from if folks have healthcare challenges, is bereavement leaves, there's new hires, it's every emotion you can possibly have in the business department through that one job, and she definitely navigated that like I'm sure very few people that we've seen in our district. So again, and it is testament to Mr. Bellinger allows his folks to do their work, and to those two specifically, and their families for supporting them. And so we thank their families for sharing them with us for 45 years. Some other real stuff. July 1, we're gonna do a field replacement project. Was gonna kick off here on the track. Not sure yet how the contractor is going to set that up. We do have the fences on the outside. I'm sure there'll be some temporary fencing as well. That project is supposed to go until August 16th, yes. And so there will be limited access, if any access to the field and track down there for that period of time. We've communicated with everybody that we can communicate with through the community, all of our facilities use folks. We've arranged for all of the current summer stuff that's happening through the city, through youth baseball, et cetera, to be concluded at that point in time. Then it's going to be a matter of us internally in our athletic programs sharing those field spaces. Once you go to a turf field, nobody really wants to be on grass. So really navigating that situation so we can get another 12 years of life out of that facility. One of the next things that we'll have on the docket for that facility specifically is we're looking at what it might take to do a track replacement as well. If not, just do some adjustments to that track. It gets pretty torn up quite a bit. That's one of the most used spaces in our entire community. My kids and I were actually out there last night, and there are people running on that track, at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. And so it just does take on a lot of wear and tear. We want to make sure we get that taken care of before it becomes hazardous, I suppose, if you will, for the overall community use. Tim will talk about this in just a bit. But we've talked over time. I do want to recognize food services department. As you recall, historically, There's a long time when a lot of people handled food services internally. And then there was a point in time when we thought it might be in our best interest as a district to contract, pardon me, those services out. And so we did, we used a company at the time, food service company. And we had a contract, I think it was for nearly 5 years, harmless, right, from any loss during that period of time. And it came such a time when Sodexo believed that loss was something more than they had imagined, and were really ready, I think, to incur. Tim and I had a dialogue about what that looks like, and if we couldn't do it, not only at a better rate, but better, right? It's in its entirety. We decided we could, so we took those services on. We brought them in house, and the whole time there's been dialogue about your student population, and how many free and reduced kids do you have, and should breakfast be free, and then should lunch be free for everybody, and how do you get to a place where lunch is free? We've had conversations about breakfast in the classroom, because you do breakfast in the classroom, everybody gets served. If everybody gets served, there's more money, right? So we've been through it all. Lots of people have jumped at some opportunities maybe to save on some money and or get I guess a better reimbursement. And we've kind of just stayed the course doing what we believe we're really good at. And now is the time, because the state has made some changes in how they want to view free and reduced. And there's going to be some different funding mechanisms there. So it's something that we had put to bed some, goodness, 10, 12 years ago now, or 13 years ago, I think. And now we're going to revisit it, but Tim will share with you, I think has a solid plan. We trust our folks to be able to do that work and to continue to save the money. So the discrepancy over the years, golly, at this point at $280,000 a year loss, the savings has been incredible, because we never operate at a loss even remotely close to what it was the food services provider said we should be operating at, and allowed us to continue to have full control over the culture of our kitchens. They were our staff people, and you have an outside contractor that comes in, wants to establish a culture. Sometimes it's different than yours, so it allowed us through Tim and his team to maintain the integrity of the culture in our kitchens and what we're able to provide for kids. So I don't want you to see this and go, oof, is this going to be a big deal for us? We don't believe so. We believe that we have a solid program currently. This won't be a substantial shift in who we are and how we do the people side of food services. There will be a pretty significant shift on the money side, which we don't believe would be a bad thing by any stretch of imagination. And then I do want to thank just our team. I want to thank all of our teachers. This has been an incredible year. From K through 12th grade. As you know, the previous year, our graduation rate was the highest it's been ever, 91.55, I think. We're gonna call 92, because I'm sure the state will ultimately round up at some point, and they will publish something that says 92. And then this graduation with this class, this was, you were there. And Jeff, it was your first one. And I'm very excited that for you, because you were so excited to be there. And that was a great opportunity to see. And that's I think the biggest class that we've graduated, pardon me, in the last decade, for sure. 344, I think, total. And so that work, and not to discount the work of our high school team or our secondary folks, but that is the work of everybody in our school district collectively. And by everybody, I don't stop at the school district. That's the investment that parents and grandparents and extended family and our school board makes in our students. And we really do want our community to recognize that their children are advantaged by them having moved here, by them having grown up here, by them having had, these legacy families here, because of the work that you do and the work that our team does. So I don't want this year to close out. I know we're close. I have 6 days left before I could have got that message out. But I don't want the year to close out without saying that. I'm not excluding Kelly. Kelly processes every single hire we ever have here, right? And that we have to get that right. So it's It's across the board. It's the food service gals smiling every morning at every single kid. It's our transportation department where 56, I think, +% of our kids start their day and end their day. Right, so it really can't be done without every single one of those folks. And it's not just Debbie paying the bills. It's the maintenance guys keeping the lights on because she has paid the bills. We gotta keep these facilities right up to snuff so our kids have safe, clean places to go to school. So I just want to just shout out to everybody. And thank you for everything. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Ryan. I don't have any yellow cards from citizens to speak. Certified staff update. None today. Classified generally not here. Consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Action item, budget appropriation transfer, Tim.
Good evening. This is always time of year. It's our last chance to kind of do some housekeeping around the budget, and budget appropriations is one of them. In this particular year, just set the table with the first page of the handout. It shows you the projected revenues, projected expenditures, and an expected surplus for the year, which is a good thing. For a variety of reasons that we've talked about previously. You're seeing that we propose sending $470,000 of resources out of the general fund into the reserve funds. And then when the dust settles out of that, it's going to leave us in a position of being slightly higher than what we had put as a proposed beginning balance in the adopted, or the budget that we're soon to put up for adoption here. So that said, the way that the resources and expenditures and ending balances leave our new budget in the position that we planned for, and slightly better with this transfer. The transfer is necessary for a couple of reasons. First, we actually need to send, so we can have all the money that we want, but statutes require us to appropriate or give the authority to spend them. So it doesn't matter if we got more revenue coming in. If we don't appropriate to actually have the authority to spend, we can't. That said, we can only spend within the authority of the appropriations that were established for this year's budget. In the scholarship trust fund, we have the No Pioneer Left Behind. We had more students access that than, I don't know if ever, but a good $10,000 worth of distribution more than I expected based on the plan that was put together. So that exceeds the spending, even though money is available in that fund, but I didn't plan to spend that money. So that exceeds the spending authority in that fund. Statute allows us to say, hey, take a piece of our spending authority from the general fund and give it to that fund so that you don't go over budget. So part of the appropriation transfer is to cover that issue. And obviously for next year, budget a higher event, giving us more optimism about how much money might be distributed off of the No Pioneer Left Behind. So secondarily, within the general fund, we have appropriation categories: instruction, support services, debt service, and whatnot. Within the general fund, we are actually on pace, and it's in the finance report that I gave you on the third page of that. You'll see the support services category is on pace to go significantly over that. We've been watching that throughout the year. We're going to wait until we had our best number, which is now, before we say, hey, let's fix it. So the reason for that is predominantly because of an increase in special education service requirements. Clientele requires certain services. The new law requires us to make sure that we're doing certain services. And so that's put pressure on that. And then facilities has been another piece of the puzzle because of utility cost increases and a lot of things associated with that. So that said, we're able to take appropriations from another category, instruction, which we underspent, and transfer it to cover that overspent in support services. We anticipate we're going to need to do that. We just didn't know until this point how much we're shooting at it. So even after we redistribute resources within the general fund, we still have some appropriation authority left over. about $470,000. And we have the resource to support that and still meet our budget goal for next year, for next year's beginning balance. So that's why we recommend let's move some resources out of the general fund and into those reserve funds that we have for technology and for facilities to help the ability to respond to needs in both of those functions, which are, I can't emphasize how critical technology has become in the district, and in facilities, you know, we have an aging set of buildings in the district aside from the high school and Cedar Ridge that continue to manifest different needs throughout the year, and the facility improvement fund gives us the ability to react to those things. We're cautious to be too proactive on it because we need to be able to react for those things that we don't know. So it's a very tense balance, but nonetheless, we believe that we still have $470,000 in resources. We'll still meet our goals for the budget for general fund for next year and able to put that resource into those reserve funds for those purposes. So that's what this appropriation transfer encompasses. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about it.
Any questions for Tim? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So we approve the budget appropriation transfer as presented. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Adoption resolution.
Appreciate it. So budget adoption resolution. So here we are, ready to kick off another year. So at this juncture, did I mention that not only am my two folks down, but I lost my accountant earlier this year. So 3 out of 5 folks are native. Okay, so far, what have we done? We had a budget workshop on April 1st, where we covered. We always like to look back, look at, and then prognosticate what do we expect coming forward. Then we had a budget committee meeting, which we published notice of, invited input. We approved the budget at that same meeting. Then subsequently, we have issued another public notice, a summary of the budget that was put out on June 5th, and then followed up with a hearing on June 10th to get more input if there is a board held that hearing. And so now here we are at the last piece of the process is to actually adopt the budget, set the appropriations, levy taxes for the new year. That said, before you do that, germane thing is there anything that we would recommend differently than the path that we've been on so far? And the answer is no. There's nothing that's come to our attention, whether it be expected resources coming in, changes in the resources, demands on expenditures, changes in the underlying assumptions about those expenditures. There's nothing that's come to our attention that makes us believe there's something different to expect than what has been discussed previously. So at this juncture, the staff recommendation is to adopt the 2024-25, my word, budget as approved by the budget committee. There's a resolution that also covers the appropriations and the tax levies and the categorization, the elements that are required by law. So if you so inclined, you can just simply approve the resolution by that.
Any questions for Tim? I'll entertain the motion to approve.
I so move that we adopt the 2024-25 budget, establish appropriations and categorize taxes as presented. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the additional item that we added, the meal fee changes.
Yeah, so the meal fee change is partly to change the fees that we charge for meal program, but it's also largely to build down on what Aaron was talking about so far as a change coming out for the food service program. So there's on the federal level, there's something under the National School Lunch Program, which we participate in. There's something called Community Eligibility Program. And the Community Eligibility Program basically says if your population, X% of your population meets this poverty level calculation, then you can give free meals to everybody and not have them fill out a free and reduced application. So there's no paperwork. You just go through the line and get a meal. That's the good part. The bad part is if say 40% of my population qualifies, and then they give you a multiplier factor, so it gets you up to 60% of your population. Then essentially what it means is 1 out of 6 kids that goes through that line, they'll pay for it. But the district's still on the hook for the other 4 out of 6 kids, right? So we haven't participated in this program previously because the threshold was lower, so the multiplier put us less than that 60% or something. And B, the state subsidy therefore wasn't eligible to us. Now the feds have increased or they've decreased the threshold to make us eligible with our population. And then the state, who under the previous CEP program had a subsidy, and their subsidy said if you were eligible under the federal program, then we would give you an additional amount per meal to get you up to essentially 9 out of 10 kids in line. And so the feds have changed their threshold, so we're eligible under their side. The state has recalibrated their subsidy to also make us eligible to get us. So essentially, we're up to the point where 9 out of every 10 students that go through the line will be free. We still offer free to everybody. So what that potentially means is that the district would be on the hook for whatever the cost difference is. However, based on those reimbursement rates, typically speaking, it covers your cost. You don't need that 10th kid's income to cover your costs. So, so based on all that information, the changes in the federal law, changes in the state rules to match the federal law, our conclusion was, yeah, of course, we're going to go for it. So that's what you see reflected in the meal fees that are proposed here, is that yeah, it goes from the boxes that you see in gray, which are all the, by grade and by free, reduced, full paid, to essentially K-12, nothing except for, and here's the oddity, snacks. If there's a snack program, it's not considered a full meal, so it's not covered at all. Milk used to be a part of the NSLP program. If you bought it by itself, it was covered. Because this program, they say you don't need to just get milk, you can get a whole meal. They don't pay for just the milk. So the presumption is you want milk, get a whole meal. I don't make the rules. And then they'll pay for your first meal, but an additional entree they have to charge for, and an entree only, which Russ will distinguish the two of those. I frankly don't understand the difference between them. But those two fees again are outside of the ability to take a single lunch. So, and then adult and second meals, you'll see in the second line. So the fees get really simplified based on this program. The adult meals have to be raised to a certain level. They have to be at or higher than the reimbursement rate. That's why we have to charge what we charge. But frankly, an adult meal that we're proposing on here for lunch is $5. You can't get a McDonald's meal for $7. So these are the meals, the rates that are proposed to keep us in compliance with the new rules. So that said, we're excited about moving towards this new program. We will be putting out, working with Garth, and put some more information out over the summer and then closer to school. We found that when post-COVID, when the NSLP was waived and they allowed us to do free meals for a period of time, we saw close to 15% bump in participation. So we believe it's likely to be the same. So when we put the budget together for the food service fund, we gave ourselves a little extra cushion in case participation gets high enough that we have to consider increasing some staff time to support that. So initially, we're not making any assumptions. We're not increasing staff until we see what actually manifests. So that's what's going on with food service. That's the food service fees that we're asking you to review and approve tonight. Any questions?
Any questions for Tim? I'll entertain a motion to approve the meal fee changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the changes. Again.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim. No information or discussion. Announcements, August 6th is an OTA board meeting online. August 12th is the next school board meeting here at 7. August 22nd is a board workshop at 6:30 here. There's no executive session, so we are adjourned.
Thank you. Have a good summer.